Earth had warned the galaxy many times, but nobody listened. For years, humans kept their true power hidden, hoping that peace would be enough. The governments of Earth signed every treaty, attended every meeting, and tried every peaceful road. They showed patience even when other species insulted them. But patience has limits, and the galaxy was about to learn that the hard way. The first sign of danger came quietly, deep inside the dark space between two dead stars. A small human scout ship picked up strange energy signals. The pilot, Lieutenant Rami, watched the readings again and again. The numbers made no sense. Something massive was moving something that did not belong in that part of the galaxy. He reported it to Earth Command. At first, it seemed like another false alarm, but within hours, the signals grew stronger, louder, almost violent. The unknown ships were getting closer. Their engines were far too big for trade ships and too powerful for exploration vessels. This was a fleet built for one purpose: destruction. Earth Command called an emergency meeting. Diplomats, scientists, and military officers filled the room. On the main screen, the fleet appeared as glowing shapes, slowly expanding as they approached human space. No one recognized their design. No one knew their origin, but everyone understood their intention. General Hale was the first to speak. He was an old soldier, known for calm thinking during chaos. He watched the screen with narrowed eyes and said, "They are not here to talk. They are here to test humanity." The diplomats still tried to believe in peace. "Maybe they want communication," one said. "Maybe it's a misunderstanding." But the fleet did not open a channel. It did not send a message. It only kept moving toward Earth territory with silent, cold purpose. A deep unease spread across the room. Earth had always been careful. They revealed only small pieces of their technology to the galaxy, just enough to look normal, not enough to show their true strength. Humanity wanted to appear equal, not threatening. They wanted cooperation, not fear. But now that gentleness was becoming a threat to their own survival, Lieutenant Rami, now back on Earth, watched the skies with growing fear. He felt responsible for bringing the news, but also proud. At least Earth was warned in time. Still, it did not comfort him. Something in his bones told him that this was only the beginning. When the fleet finally crossed the border into human space, all communication stations lit up at once. The unknown ship sent a single message using a cold mechanical voice. It said, "Surrender your star systems. Earth must kneel. Resistance will be destroyed." The entire command room froze. Ambassador Lyra tried one last time to save peace. She opened a direct line and spoke clearly, "Earth does not kneel, but Earth will talk." There was no reply. Instead, the fleet increased its speed. That was when the truth became clear. Diplomacy had failed. The warnings Earth had given for years were being ignored again. Humanity had always said one thing: "Do not push us too far." Now the galaxy had pushed too far. General Hale made the final decision: activate Protocol Titan. The room became silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Protocol Titan was Earth's most guarded secret, a plan created long ago, but never used. It allowed humanity to drop all limits, all restrictions, all hesitation. It opened hidden programs, secret fleets, and forgotten weapons designed in dark labs far from public eyes. Earth had been holding back for centuries. Now, for the first time, they would unleash everything. Massive hangars opened in remote deserts and frozen polar lands. From deep underground, giant metal doors rose, revealing the hidden fleet humanity had never shown to anyone. Dark ships built from advanced alloys lifted into the sky silently. Their engines glowed with blue light. Their shapes were sharper, faster, and more powerful than any known ship in the galaxy. These were not the ships Earth showed to the universe. These were not diplomatic vessels. These were weapons created to end wars before they even began. Across the planet, soldiers prepared. Civilians watched in fear as news reports flashed warnings on every screen. Families held each other tightly. Children asked their parents if Earth would be safe. No one knew the answer. Lieutenant Rami stood inside the launch bay of a Titan-class destroyer. Its scale stunned him. Its hull stretched farther than he could see. Its cannons hummed with silent energy. This ship alone was stronger than entire fleets of other species, but the enemy fleet was huge too. Their size and power were unlike anything Earth had faced. Still, humanity had something the enemy didn't: purpose. Rami whispered to himself, "If they want to test us, they will learn today." Above Earth orbit, the hidden human fleet formed a line like a wall of steel. The unknown invaders kept coming, confident, arrogant, certain that Earth would be easy. They were wrong. Humanity's true power was waking up, and the galaxy was about to witness the beginning of the reckoning. The enemy fleet stopped just outside Earth's outer defense ring, hanging in the green mist of space like silent predators. Their ships were shaped like long blades, sharp and dark, glowing with flickering red energy. They did not move, but everyone on Earth could feel the pressure of their presence. It felt like a storm waiting to break inside the Titan-class destroyer. Lieutenant Rami watched the enemy formation through the main window. He tried to stay calm, but a strange fear curled in his stomach. It was not fear of battle. He had trained for years. It was fear of the unknown. This enemy did not speak, did not negotiate. They only demanded surrender. Rami wondered what kind of species behaved like that. General Hale stood on the command deck of the lead Titan ship. His voice echoed through every speaker in the fleet as he addressed humanity's forces. "Listen carefully," he said. "We are not the ones who started this, but we will finish it if we must. Stay steady, stay focused, and remember, we fight for Earth." The soldiers saluted. The engineers locked the weapon cores. The pilots strapped into their seats as the giant engines hummed louder and louder. Then something unexpected happened. A small ship detached from the enemy fleet and moved forward alone. The human fleet watched carefully. It broadcast a single message: "Last chance, submit." General Hale raised an eyebrow. "They still think we are weak." Ambassador Lyra tried again. "We have no wish for war, but we will not submit." The small enemy ship responded with silence. Then it turned around and rejoined its fleet. Rami did not know what would come next, but everyone knew the answer arrived just seconds later. The enemy ships powered up their weapons. The space between the two fleets lit up with the glow of charging cannons. Red energy pulsed across the enemy formations like veins awakening. Earth's fleet prepared to fire back. General Hale gave the command no one wanted to hear, but everyone expected: "Shields up. All units ready." The first blast came without warning. A beam of red energy shot forward from the enemy's largest ship, moving faster than any weapon Earth had ever seen. It sliced through the dark like a burning spear. The beam struck Earth's defense ring. The ring shook violently. Its shields flickered. Warning alarms rang across the system. Rami grabbed the side of his seat to steady himself as the shockwave hit the Titan ship. The crew around him shouted reports. Shield integrity at 82%. Outer satellites destroyed. Defense ring unstable. Earth's fragile hope for negotiation died in that moment. General Hale's voice turned cold. "They want war. They will have one." He raised his hand. "Return fire." Earth's hidden fleet unleashed its fury. The Titan ships fired beams of blue light, thick and bright like the heart of a star. The smaller human ships launched thousands of missiles that streaked across space, leaving glowing trails behind them. The sky became a battlefield of color blue, red, white clashing in bursts of fire and lightning. Rami watched the first wave of human fire smash into the enemy lines. Several enemy ships exploded instantly, breaking apart into sharp pieces that scattered into the void. But the enemy regrouped quickly. Their ships moved like predators, fast and cruel. Rami felt sweat on his hands. "They're strong," he whispered. "Too strong." The Titan ship shook again as more enemy fire hit the shields. The lights flickered, shields at 66%. The officer shouted. The enemy fleet kept pushing forward. Their formation was tight, controlled, almost perfect. It was clear they had trained for war all their lives. Humanity was fighting something far more dangerous than they expected. But Earth had something the enemy didn't understand yet. Inside the Titan ship, a new system began to activate. A deep pulse ran through the metal walls. Blue lines of energy spread across the ship's surface like veins. Rami felt the air vibrate slightly. "What's happening?" he asked. The engineer beside him smiled nervously. "Protocol Titan is only waking up now." Rami felt chills run through him. If Earth's true power had not been fully revealed yet, then maybe they still had a chance. On the enemy side, a massive ship larger than any other moved into front position. Its cannons glowed with red fire. Everyone watching felt the threat. It looked like a floating mountain of death. The giant ship charged its weapon. Ambassador Lyra covered her mouth in shock. "If that hits Earth," General Hale interrupted quietly, "it won't." The Titan ship's core reached full power. The lights on the command deck turned bright blue. The engines roared like a beast awakening from a long sleep. General Hale shouted, "All Titan ships engage maximum output." What happened next was something no species in the galaxy had ever seen before. The Titan-class destroyers accelerated so fast that even space seemed to shake. Their weapons unleashed streams of blue-white plasma that tore through enemy shields like paper. The largest enemy ships began to crack, their metal breaking apart under the overwhelming force. Rami watched in awe. For the first time, he understood why Earth had kept this power hidden. It was too strong, too terrifying, but now it was Earth's only hope. The enemy fleet realized the truth too late. Their confidence began to break. Their formation loosened. Their ships scattered in panic. But it wasn't over. The giant enemy flagship finished charging its weapon, a red glow brighter. Then the sun spread across its surface. Everyone on Earth and every soldier in space felt the same fear at the same moment. If that beam fired, the war would change forever. The final seconds before the blast felt like an eternity. The giant enemy flagship glowed brighter and brighter until its entire hull looked like a burning star. The red light spread across its surface, gathering into one massive point at the front of the ship. Every human sensor began screaming warnings at once. Inside the Titan destroyer, the atmosphere tightened. People stopped talking. No one breathed. Everyone stared at the screens as the enemy weapon reached full power. Lieutenant Rami could feel his heartbeat pounding in his ears. He had seen weapons before, but nothing like this. This was not a normal cannon. This was something meant to erase planets. General Hale stood completely still, his eyes fixed on the flagship. Behind him, the command crew waited for orders. The entire human fleet depended on his next decision. Can we intercept it? An officer asked. No, the weapons chief said. The beam output is too high. Nothing we have can stop it directly. The flagship's red glow began to focus into a narrow beam. They had only seconds left. General Hale spoke softly, almost like he was talking to himself. Then we won't stop it. We'll outrun it. He turned to the pilot. Prepare full vector jump. Right now. The pilot's hands trembled. Sir, the ship isn't ready for a full vector jump. The core only stabilized minutes ago. It doesn't matter. Do it. The pilot hesitated for only a moment before typing commands rapidly. The Titan ship's engines roared, building power far faster than recommended. The flagship fired. A massive red beam tore through the dark of space, wide enough to swallow a continent. It shot across the battlefield, burning through the human ships instantly. Their shields collapsed, and their hulls vanished into bright dust. Rami stared in horror. If that hits Earth, it won't, General Hale repeated. The Titan ship jumped sideways with impossible speed. Space blurred. The red beam passed through the area where they had been only a heartbeat earlier. The entire fleet saw it, Earth's most powerful ship dancing away from death at the last possible second. But the danger was not over. That same beam tore through part of the defense ring. It broke the outer barrier and kept going. It missed Earth, but only barely. The blast skimmed the edge of the atmosphere, causing storms to erupt across the planet. The skies turned red for several seconds. People on the ground fell to their knees, terrified by the sudden glow. For many, it looked like the end of the world. Ambassador Lara watched the red streak fade. Her hands shook. We cannot let them fire again. Earth won't survive another shot. General Hale knew she was right. The enemy flagship began charging its weapon again. Rami felt a cold fear. How do we stop that monster? By cutting off its heart, General Hale said. Focus all Titan ships on the flagship. Across the battlefield, the Titan fleet shifted position, forming a spear formation aimed directly at the enemy's largest ship. Smaller human ships moved behind them to provide support fire, but the enemy saw the maneuver. Their entire fleet repositioned to protect their flagship. Dozens of blade-shaped ships moved forward, forming a wall of metal and death. The enemy wall fired a wave of red beams and missiles. The space between the two armies turned into a storm of explosions. 3 human cruisers were destroyed instantly. A Titan ship took a direct hit on its flank, sending sparks across its hull. Rami grabbed his console as the ship shook violently again. Shields at 59%. General Hale didn't flinch. Forward, the Titan ships powered ahead, cutting through enemy fire with raw force. Their blue plasma beams sliced enemies in half. Their cannons sent shockwaves that pushed smaller ships aside like debris. One Titan destroyer plowed straight into the enemy wall, tearing through 2 ships before breaking apart. Its sacrifice opened a path. The human fleet surged forward inside the enemy flagship. The red core glowed brighter again. It was ready to fire a second time. Rami felt panic growing inside him. They're going to fire again. General Hale raised his hand. Not if we hit them first. The Titan fleet concentrated all weapons on the flagship. Blue plasma beams shot forward. Missiles streaked across. Space. Every ship fired everything they had. The flagship shields flared red. Rippling like water under the impact, they held, but only barely. The enemy's core flickered as it tried to stabilize its shot. The ship trembled, its energy shifting. Struggling to maintain its charge, Rami leaned forward, whispering, "Come on, break." The Titan ships pushed harder, engines screaming, weapons overheating. Their hulls glowed white-hot under the strain. Finally, a crack appeared on the flagship's shield, a tiny fracture, almost invisible. But General Hale saw it instantly. "There," he shouted. "All Titan ships, concentrate fire on that point." The fleet obeyed. Every cannon fired into the fracture. The crack spread like lightning. The flagship shook violently. Its red core pulsed too fast. Its energy went unstable. And then everything exploded. A massive red and white blast tore through the flagship. It shattered into burning fragments that scattered across space like glowing ash. The red core collapsed, vanishing in a silent burst of light. The entire battlefield froze. The enemy fleet stopped firing. Humans stared in disbelief. The invincible flagship, the monster that nearly destroyed Earth, was gone. Rami slowly exhaled, feeling his entire body tremble. We did it." General Hale didn't celebrate. His eyes stayed sharp, focused. No, this was only the beginning. Because in the shadows behind the enemy fleet, something enormous began to move. Something far larger than the flagship. Something the enemy had not shown before. Something waking up. The battlefield fell into strange silence after the enemy flagship exploded. The pieces of the giant ship drifted like burning metal snow, glowing red against the black of space. For a moment, it felt as if the war might end right there. But then the darkness behind the enemy fleet began to shift. At first, Rami thought it was just smoke or debris. Then the shadows stretched wider and wider until they formed the outline of something massive. Even at a distance, it dwarfed every ship in sight. It was not shaped like the blade ships. It was not shaped like any known vessel. It looked like a floating fortress. General Hale stared at the screens with a cold, steady focus. "So this is what they were hiding," Ambassador Lyra whispered. "That thing, it's bigger than a city." The giant ship slowly emerged into the green glow of the nebula. Its hull was covered in dark armor plates that moved like living metal. Strange symbols glowed across its side in shifting red patterns. Dozens of giant cannons lined its frame, each one large enough to vaporize a mountain. The enemy fleet, which had been fighting desperately moments ago, suddenly became calm and organized again. They pulled back and formed a new formation around the massive ship as if protecting a god. Rami felt a cold chill creep up his spine. How do we fight something that big? No one answered. Sensors blinked with warning alerts. The giant ship was activating slowly, steadily, like a creature waking from a long sleep. Massive energy levels built in its core, rising higher and higher. General Hale turned to the communication officer. "Send a system-wide alert. Civilians must stay underground. All defense platforms prepare for impact." The officer nodded and typed rapidly. The giant ship's energy charge continued climbing. Rami watched the readings jump higher. "Sir, the output is rising too fast." "How fast?" Hale asked. The officer swallowed hard. "Faster than the flagship." "Much faster." The Titan ship spread into a defensive formation. Blue shields shimmered around them, pulsating like wings of light. Smaller human ships took cover behind them to avoid the first blast. But no one knew what kind of weapon the giant ship carried. The enemy fleet did not attack. They simply watched. Then the giant ship's surface began to glow with a deep, unsettling red. Ambassador Lyra closed her eyes for a moment. That ship wasn't here to fight. It was here to finish the war. General Hale nodded. "And that means we must stop it before it fires." The Titan ships accelerated, forming a spear formation again. Their engines glowed bright blue, carving streaks of light across the battlefield. But the giant ship responded instantly. Panels opened along its sides, revealing rotating rings lined with countless small cannons. Red beams fired in all directions like a storm of light. Dozens of human ships were hit instantly. Some exploded. Some spun out of control. The battlefield lit up with fire and broken metal. Rami felt his ship shake violently as a blast struck their shields. Sparks burst from the ceiling. Shields at 71%. Someone shouted. General Hale gripped the railing tightly. "Keep moving. Do not slow down." The Titan ships returned fire. Their plasma beams slammed into the giant ship's armor, but barely made a dent. The armor absorbed the attack like a stone wall blocking raindrops. "It's not working," Rami cried. "Focus fire on its joints," the weapons officer said. The armor plates move. That means there are weak points. They aimed at the moving segments where one massive plate slid under another. Plasma beams struck the seams. This time, the armor shook slightly, but the giant ship hardly reacted. Instead, it continued charging its main weapon. The energy at its center had grown into a swirling red sphere, pulsing like a heart. Every pulse sent shockwaves through the battlefield. General Hale understood immediately. If that thing fires, Earth is done. Rami swallowed. So we hit the core? Yes, Hale said. But we have to survive long enough to reach it. The Titan ships pushed forward again, engines burning at maximum. Smaller ships broke away to intercept enemy fighters that poured out of the giant ship's hangars. The sky filled with thousands of small red lights, enemy drones, fast and merciless. Rami watched them swarm. There are too many. General Hale pressed a button on the command console. Activate Nova Protocol. The engineer gasped. Sir, Nova Protocol hasn't been tested. We don't have time. He slammed the activation key. The Titan ship's hull lit up with blue symbols. Its cannons extended and locked into place. The entire ship vibrated as energy surged through it like a rising tide. Rami held onto his console, feeling the power rumbling beneath his feet. What is this? Our strongest attack, the engineer said quietly. But using it is dangerous. It pulls energy directly from the core. The giant enemy ship finished charging. The red sphere at its center reached maximum brightness. Its cannons aimed directly at Earth. The Titan ship reached maximum charge at the exact same moment. The battlefield seemed to freeze. The two monstrous powers facing each other across space. General Hale spoke in a low voice. If humanity falls today, at least we fall fighting. He raised his hand. Fire. The Titan destroyer unleashed its Nova Blast, a massive blue beam, wider than a city, glowing with impossible energy. At the same moment, the giant enemy ship fired its own weapon, a colossal red beam sharper than lightning. Tearing space apart, the two beams raced toward each other and collided in the center of the battlefield. The explosion was so bright that every sensor went blind. The shockwave shook every ship, human and enemy alike. The battlefield disappeared under a sphere of light. When the brightness faded, something enormous was falling, something metal, something broken. But it was not clear yet who had won. The battle over Karsus Prime ignited like a second sun. Human warships, once silent in the void, now moved with terrifying precision. Every blast they fired carried a message. This is your doing. But while the fleet raged forward, Ambassador Rhea Hale was deep inside the flagship Aegis Crown, watching the impossible unfold on the tactical screens. The Galactic Coalition forces had expected humans to be slow, desperate, or overwhelmed. Instead, they were witnessing something else entirely. Humans were adapting to fast. Every enemy weapon pattern was mapped and countered within seconds. Every formation shift was predicted before it even happened. And yet, Rhea could see a shadow over the crew, a tension she didn't fully understand. Her second in command, Commander Briggs, leaned closer. Ma'am, the captains are holding something back. They're not deploying the Titan Protocol. Rhea stiffened, because the Titan Protocol was supposed to be activated only if humanity's survival was at risk. And if the Coalition truly understood what the Titan Protocol unleashed, they would have begged for peace long ago. Briggs, she said quietly, why hasn't it been authorized? Fleet Command wants your approval. Rhea froze. Her approval. Because she was the last surviving diplomat who begged the galaxy to avoid war. Because she was the one who personally warned every species of what humans were capable of when pushed a far. And now she had to be the one to unleash the very thing she once swore would never be used. The bridge lights flickered. A massive shockwave hit the hull as three enemy dreadnoughts locked on simultaneously. Briggs shouted, shields down to 20%. Rhea rose, her voice steady, but her heartbeat like thunder, opened a channel to the entire fleet. Static cleared. Hundreds of captains awaited her command. This is Ambassador Hale, she said. Diplomacy has failed. The Coalition has chosen annihilation. She swallowed hard. And now, we choose survival. A long silence. Then, by my authority, initiate the Titan Protocol. No one spoke. No one breathed, because everyone in the fleet knew this moment would change the galaxy forever. The command to activate the Titan Protocol spread through the fleet like a silent lightning strike. Every ship received it. Every captain paused. Every officer stared at their consoles with a mix of fear and pride, because the Titan Protocol was not just a weapon system. It was humanity without limits. It was the thing the galaxy feared most dot deep inside the Aegis crown. Heavy doors opened with a deep mechanical roar. Red warning lights spun across the walls. As ancient systems came online, systems built only for the darkest hour of humanity. Energy reactors hummed. Armored chambers unlocked. Massive conduits pulsed with rising light. Commander Briggs whispered, "They're waking up." Rhea Hale watched as the ship's displays changed. Strange symbols, old military codes flashed across every screen. The entire ship felt different, as if something powerful had just taken a breath. Outside, the human fleet began to shift. Ships reformed into a new pattern, one that no alien mind had ever seen or could ever predict. The formation looked chaotic at first, but then it narrowed and sharpened like a blade. Coalition analysts panicked. "This movement is impossible to track. Our sensors cannot read their speed. They are changing formation every second." Across the enemy fleet, confusion turned into fear. The humans were no longer fighting like a normal military. They were fighting like a living storm, and the Titans were the heart of it. On the Aegis crown, a deep metallic voice echoed through the bridge. "Titan units online. Executing protocol. Survival." Briggs stared at the display showing the Titan units' 3 enormous war mechs stored within. Massive hangars under the ship's main deck. Each was the size of a small building. Each carried weapons that most species considered impossible. "Ma'am," Briggs said, "once they deploy, there's no turning back." Rhea closed her eyes. For a moment, she remembered every meeting, where she begged the galaxy for peace. She remembered every warning ignored and she remembered every lost outpost, every attack on human worlds, every cry for help that came too late. Her eyes opened. "Launch them." Massive clamps released with a thunderous crack. The hangar floor split open, revealing the dark vacuum of space below. One by one, the Titan units stepped forward, their heavy metal feet shaking the entire ship. Then they dropped, a flash of engine fire, a streak of burning light. 3 Titans falling through the void like descending gods. Coalition ships tried to lock on. Targeting systems failed instantly. One alien commander shouted, "What are those things?" The Titans landed on the hull of the nearest dreadnought with a force that tore metal apart. Their weapons activated with a terrifying glow. The dreadnought never had a chance. Within seconds, it was sliced in half, drifting in broken pieces across the battlefield. Panic spread. "This is not possible. They are moving too fast. They are cutting through capital ships like paper." Rhea watched the destruction from the bridge. Her voice was quiet. This is what Earth warned them about. But even she felt something strange in her chest and unease beyond the battle. Because the Titans were powerful, yes, but they were also unpredictable, created in secret, bound by old codes, designed for total victory, no matter the cost. Briggs spoke softly, "Ambassador, what if the Titans go too far?" Rhea did not answer. She didn't know. Outside, the Titans continued their silent rampage. Every movement was clean, efficient, deadly. Coalition ships scattered, but nowhere was safe. This battlefield no longer belonged to the galaxy. It belonged to humanity. Humanity had stepped into the great chamber of the Galactic Council, not as a small voice begging to be heard, but as the force that had survived every threat thrown at it. The delegates felt the weight of Earth's presence long before General Hale entered. The light from the high ceiling reflected off the symbols on his uniform, symbols of battles won, worlds saved, and promises kept. A deep silence fell across the hall. No one dared to speak. No one dared to move. Every species present understood that what happened now would shape the future of the galaxy. General Hale walked slowly toward the center podium. Behind him stood Captain Rhea, Admiral Solis, and the entire Alpha Fleet Command. They were not here for war. They were here because the galaxy had forced them into it and now needed them to end it. The Eldrin emissary, weakened after the destruction of his war fleet, was the first to speak. His voice shook, not with fear, but with the weight of regret. He asked one question that had been haunting every mind in the chamber. "Why didn't you reveal your true power earlier?" General Hale stood still for a moment. He looked around the hall at all the species who had underestimated Earth for generations. His reply was calm, because strength is not meant to crush others. It is meant to protect. A soft murmur spread across the hall. Even those who once viewed humanity as primitive now felt the depth of those words. General Hale continued, his voice strong but steady. He explained how Earth had tried diplomacy again and again, how humanity had offered help instead of violence, how they had warned the Council that pushing Earth into a corner would only bring chaos. But no one listened. They laughed at Earth's warnings. believing humans were no threat until the day the reckoning fleet appeared. The leader of the council, an ancient being known as the Seraphon Prime, finally rose from his seat. His golden wings shimmered softly in the hall. He spoke slowly, choosing each word with care. Humanity, we were wrong about you. We saw your size, not your spirit, your history, not your growth. We judged you without knowing you. General Hale nodded. And now the galaxy stands at a crossroads. Continue the cycle of war, or build something better. The council chamber grew silent again. But this time it was not out of fear. It was out of respect. Captain Rhea stepped forward and placed a holomap above the central podium. It showed the borders of all star systems. The lines were not divided by species or power. They were united. This, she said, is what humanity offers. A new alliance. A future where strength is not used to destroy, but to defend every world. A young delegate from a small, previously bullied species rose to her feet. She spoke with courage she had never shown before. If Earth stands with us, then we choose peace. One by one, other delegates rose. The hall filled with voices, voices of apology, voices of hope, voices of trust. And slowly, the old map of the galaxy began to change. Barriers that had existed for thousands of years were rewritten. Species that once feared each other now stood side by side. The final moment came when the Seraphon Prime lifted his staff and struck the floor gently. The symbol of the new galactic alliance appeared above everyone, an emblem showing a circle of stars surrounding a single world. Earth. Not because Earth wished to rule, but because Earth had proven it would protect them all. General Hale stepped back as the entire hall bowed their heads. Humanity had once been ignored, mocked, underestimated. Now the galaxy recognized the truth. Earth was not a quiet world hiding weakness. It was a guardian holding back unimaginable strength, using it only when forced. After the council meeting ended, General Hale and Captain Rhea walked together through the long corridor. Outside the transparent walls, thousands of ships from different species flew in formation, not preparing for war, but celebrating peace. Rhea looked at Hale and smiled softly. Do you think the galaxy will ever understand why we tried so hard with diplomacy first? Hale watched the ships for a moment before replying. Maybe. Or maybe they only understand now because they finally saw what we were protecting them from. Ourselves. Rhea raised an eyebrow. You think we're that dangerous? Hale nodded. Humans grow stronger under pressure. When threatened, we adapt. When cornered, we evolve. That is our greatest strength and our greatest danger. She thought about his words. Then she asked the question he knew was coming. Will we ever need to unleash that power again? Hale looked toward Earth, glowing blue in the distance. I hope not. Humanity didn't reveal our true power to rule the galaxy. We revealed it to give the galaxy a choice. Rhea smiled, and they chose peace. Hale placed his hand on the window, the stars shining around him. Then our mission is not to prepare for war. Our mission is to make sure they never fear us again and never doubt us again. Outside, the ships formed a massive circle around Earth, the new symbol of unity. Billions watched from their worlds. Children of different species recorded the moment. Historians whispered that this day would be remembered forever. For the first time in galactic history, peace wasn't a fragile dream. It was a promise guarded by humanity, the species that had warned the galaxy, been ignored, and finally revealed its true power not to destroy, but to rebuild. And so the reckoning ended, not with fire, but with a future where Earth stood not as a conqueror, but as the protector the galaxy never knew it needed.